Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome everybody into the Overreaction Buffalo Postgame Show on the Overreaction Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. My name is Joe Miller, and you can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired, alongside my co-host, former Buffalo Bill, Swiss Army knife Buffalo Bill on the offensive line, who played 4 positions across that offensive line, Jerry Ostrowski, over 100 starts with the Buffalo Bills as well. You can find him on Twitter at Ostrowski_Big O. It is so good to have every single one of you joining us right now. Please do us a favor. Please like, please subscribe. Whatever platform you are consuming this presentation on, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We appreciate you. We appreciate the numbers. We appreciate the metrics. We appreciate you helping us out any way you can. Jerry, I don't have anything overly written. I think for me, as it pertains to this football game against the New Jersey Jets, that the Buffalo Bills won in dominant fashion. I went into this game, all of the hype in the rivalry has been building up to this moment, as you know. Former player that played on that field, as I said, played more than 100 games for the Bills. I didn't expect it to be emotional for me. I'm standing in the line to get into the stadium with my daughter, McKenna. I look up at the sign that says Highmark Stadium with the Bills logo, and I'm welled up. I didn't cry, but literally welled up in tears. And I'm just like getting emotional now. This place means a lot to me, like more than I thought it did.
Well, I think that, and Joe, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I was emotional at the house watching the game from my living room. I think it's kind of like, I'll give you an example. My wife is this way with automobiles. We trade a car in that we've had, an SUV that we had for 10, 11 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
To me, we're getting rid of this car that needs to go, get a new one, no repairs. But yet she sees, Jackson and Owen bickering in the back seat, Owen spilling his milk all over himself, those two playing, playing games, and the trips so I think that's where you get when you're coming into the stadium with your daughter. There's a chapter of your parenthood, your relationship with her that is closing. And I think it's totally natural to think that way. I mean, it was that way with me, watching the final game. And I know you're like me. You're a big music fan. John's a big music fan as well. And obviously John's not with us tonight. He was up there for the festivities today, got to participate.
He's stuck in traffic. He doesn't have the luxury that I have of getting home in about 13 minutes.
Right, exactly. But we're big fans of music, right? And I'm a huge fan of television series that use music heavily to set moods and tie storylines and all that.
Agreed.
And I thought there was no better song to play for the last song going off the field in the video with Iris with the Goo Goo Dolls when they,
Buffalo's own Goo Goo Dolls.
with the song, with the line that says, I don't want the world to see me. I don't think that they'd understand. Everything's meant to be broken. I just want you to know who I am.
Yeah.
That's prophetic,
It was
it's prophetic.
As Jerry Ostrowski is getting emotional. It was awesome as they showed pictures of former players, even to include former players that aren't always shown or rarely, if ever, re-shown, and to hear the crowd reacting as the players were coming across that screen, to include Marshawn Lynch. So beast mode, they showed a picture of him catching a pass and ending up in the end zone, and like the crowd cheered, and like LaShawn McCoy as he's running in the snow game and the crowd cheered, like just different moments. And then it literally apexed at Josh Allen. Like it got to Josh Allen, and everybody understands what he means to this team and what he means to this franchise. Even now, would we be getting a stadium if we didn't have Josh Allen? If we had drafted Sam Darnold and it panned out like it did with the Jets, or if we had drafted, God forbid, Josh Rosen and it was a complete bust, are we still getting a new stadium with the Pagulas? More than likely, yes. We're still probably here. But the emotion, the feeling, and where this team has been for the last 6-7 years since Josh got 6-7 years, 8 years since Josh had gotten here. It was just, that was such a, I stood there during that. People left, but there was a small percentage of people that left. The fans stayed. So the fans stayed through the final shout song. The fans stayed through there was a big announcement by the dude from WYRK, the radio, the broadcast guy for the stadium, and then they played that song. The fans stayed like through that whole moment, and I'm standing there holding my daughter and just watching memories.
But it's why I wore this shirt, Yeah, it's why I wore the shirt. Mafia means family, because it's all families have a house, right? And that stadium was the Mafia's house for a long time.
52 years.
52 years. Yeah. And we, at some point in time, usually you move to a new home, right? Yep. And we're moving to a new house, and we're going to bring a lot of that with us. But still, there's a lot of things that stay, that stay there. So yeah, I mean, it's an emotional time, and I'm just glad that the team performed the way they did. They were in a situation the way they were, that it was a low stress moment, and the fan base could appreciate the moment and enjoy the day. It was one of those deals, not nail biting and worried about making playoffs. And
from jump, the Bills were in that game. Yeah.
Exactly. And it was like, it was nice that they had that day. As much as you'd like to see a really, contested game for the last game of the season and the last game ever in a stadium, there was something pleasant about sitting down and being able to enjoy the memories of the place while watching your team perform well and get a W and get ready for the playoffs. So I don't think that's something to overlook either.
Yeah, it was, and I said this on Joe Marino asked me from Locked On Bills, which you obviously do the Bills squad with Joe Marino. He asked me to come on and do a little video thing for his show on Friday, just a little short montage, which I provided. And it just brought me back to 1982, the first time my dad ever took me to a game. Vikings game, Thursday night. I remember sitting in the end zone as a kid. I was 9 years old. Turning around and looking at the time, the light bulb scoreboard. Like, I don't know how it was when you were there, but it was just black and white light bulbs.
Yeah,
it wasn't, it wasn't anything spectacular or amazing. And then just all through the years, like through the rest of my childhood, through my high school years. And then like as much as I'm standing there with my daughter, and we'll move on, everybody, just, we'll get to this game and to the Jacksonville game coming up. As much as I'm there with my daughter, like, it's rushing through me the time that I've spent here with my dad, right? Because I'm not going to have my dad forever, but now I'm passing that on to McKenna. So it's just, I am very much, as you are, a very dominant, like type A, high, like very disconnected from my emotions. As far, the only thing that ever gets me is my girls. My girls get me every time, as far as like when my girls get married, it's going to be a problem for me as far as emotionally goes. Other than that, very disconnected from my emotions. I did not expect to be emotional about this situation, and to come out of it now, and even still talking to you, Jerry, which this is a big I think part of it is because it's such a big thing for you too. Like, I'm just overwhelmingly surprised that I'm this emotional about a pile of concrete.
Yeah. But again, it goes back to we were talking about at the start of this, getting highly emotional about an automobile. It's the same thing, because the other thing is this. I mean, I know, like you said, we're going to get onto this Jets game, and there's some things I want to talk about that I thought were awesome, especially one position group in general. But when you look at the stadium, I mean, people grow tighter together, to me, in times of strife and turmoil than they do in times of just, joy and elation. And those are all part of it, but there's a bond that grows, but when you face adversity. And we all know that the fan base and the adversity of the team and the Super Bowls and everything else that have taken place, and the story's well written. We hear about it all the time, right? But there's something about that builds a bond between people, and it's a like the song says, it's a Buffalo thing. You won't understand, just
100%.
I just want you to know who I am, right?
100%.
So anyway.
For the sake of the audience, and our
thank goodness you and I aren't in the same room. We might be hugging each other right now. You'd have to watch that, people.
There's I'd like to spend an hour just pressing in. I wish Fina was here too, because just pressing into you guys and because I was emotional when John got to be the legend of the game last year. Me coming down that tunnel with John, like behind him, filming, even on my camera, and seeing him just, And you talked about it, like when you got to walk down the tunnel again, I think last year as well. You're like, man, coming down that tunnel was something. Like I was emotional for him. So anyways, we can move on it for the sake of the audience as far as that goes. This football game, from jump, Jerry, they came out ready to play. Mitch Trubisky was electric and on point. As far as, I don't know his stats necessarily. Ray Davis was unbelievable in this game. The defense played well. Now, obviously, there was a lot of starters not playing for both football teams. First thoughts, just as far as the Buffalo Bills' performance against the Jets in this game.
Well, I think the biggest thing to me was how the guys that haven't played all season long were prepared to play. I think that's the biggest deal. Now, granted, we've had, Joe Andreessen and guys like that were playing a lot of defense. Solomon was playing a lot of defense. But even though it seemed like we had our backups in at the defensive line position, most of those guys have been our starters all year long. So let's not get crazy. But no, I think to me the biggest thing that was really evident was just how good the offensive line depth is and how well coached that group is. Granted, Osiris Torrance played the whole game at right guard, and that just happens sometimes. You can only have 53 guys on a roster, right? Just like the people that are going to clamor, why was Maxwell Hairston on the field at that point? Because you don't have anybody else, right? That you got to play him. You're not going to play Trey, and you're not going to play, Benford. So somebody's got to play. So they get put in harm's way. But I just think that it was evident to me that group up front, that offensive line, so well coached. Kermer's done such a good job in his system and his program of developing backups. Granted, I know we're playing the Jets, not a very good football team, but that was a top quality offensive line that you saw. And there was a couple performances, one in general, by Cedric Van Pran-Granger. I mean, I think what I saw out of him, now obviously I'll watch you all 22 tomorrow and get a deeper dive, but just watching him with the naked eye without having the opportunity to replay, not sure I spend the money on bringing McGovern back. I think it's time to let Cedric play. I mean, he's a very good football player and did some really good things. And I think the biggest thing for him was they let him sit on the bench. They let him mature. He's changed his body. He's not as heavy. And his movement skills are tremendous right now. I mean, he was getting wide reaches and things like that. So, yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was how that offensive line group played and how they played so well with as many backups in the game as they had.
Yeah, that was actually one of the questions that I primarily wanted to ask you. I'm currently looking for the odds coming into the game for the Bills-Jets game per FanDuel. I don't know if you know what it was off the top of your head.
No, sir.
18.5-point favorites. Is that right?
Okay. That sounds about right.
Holy smokes. All right. But as I was watching, I felt the offensive line played great. I felt even in moments where maybe the execution wasn't perfect, Ray Davis found cutback lanes and found like opportunities to squeak through. Ray Davis had a great game, but Van Pran-Granger was the guy that I was most interested as I'm watching that game. In preparation in my mind for this show, I want to ask Jerry about Van Pran-Granger and what he saw just at like the rough immediate eye versus the all 22. Right. So
FanDuel spread was actually Bills laying 7.5.
7.5
is what the spread was. But no, I think he showed himself really well. He played really, really well. He's stout inside. He's able to handle size. But to me, the thing that he lacked last year when watching him was kind of that second level ability, and that's changed. And I think a big part of that is the body change, the body composition. He's better second level now. You can see him doing the things that Cromer once done by a center. You look at Alec Anderson. We know who Alec Anderson is. You're going to get what you get.
Yes.
You're going to get a guy that's going to fight for 60 minutes, maybe not the most polished or athletic guy, but he's going to brawl. He's going to hammer guys.
More about finishing on the pile than he is.
Yes. He's an attitude guy. So if we rolled into the season, because if you've seen some of the latest contract redos at guard, David Evers is going to get a bag of money. Now, if it's in Buffalo or not, I don't know. I hope it's in Buffalo. I hope they get him to stay. But if not, he's going to get a big bag of money if you see some of the guys out there that have been extended. But if we have to stay with Anderson, so be it. I think we'll be fine. I think we know what we get in Vandermark. I mean, we've seen enough of him that we know what we get. But that one key piece that was, and Grable too. I mean, we saw Grable had the dislocated finger, had to put back into place, came back out and played well. So I was excited about him also. Excited about seeing that toughness. But again, to me, the guy that stood out the most, and again, this is naked eye stuff, watching TV copy, have not dug into the all-22 yet. I think Van Pran-Granger really did a good job today.
Yeah, that's exciting, and I think it speaks volumes what you said, just as far as I don't want to say expendability. That's the wrong word. Just it's a business, and there's an aspect of this is what the business is. You bring in guys. They drafted Van Pran-Granger. They kept him in the system. They grew him. They've developed him, and that's what the natural right move is. So the question is McGovern on this team as a center? Well, I guess the first question is McGovern on this team next year at all? And if he is on this team, is he a center or is he a guard? And you would hope almost, if the Bills have drafted well, that he's not a center if he's on this roster. But at the end of the day, just knowing how well he played, and that's a Jets defense, even at the situation or the position that they're in currently at the end of the season, what they're playing for. I know Quinnen Williams is not on that football team. It's still a good Jets defense. That's not, I mean, Harrison Phillips, we're all familiar with Harrison Phillips. He was drafted by the Buffalo Bills. I mean, that's a good defensive line that Van Pran-Granger faced and that offensive line faced today.
And I think that's the thing that probably got me excited about. And I'm just going to call him VPG because I'm not going to call him Van Pran-Granger and over again. It's too much for my mind. But
it's a lot.
The thing about VPG, and that's even hard to say.
Get that out right.
The thing that excited me about him was he had some stoutness to him, right? Which is what I thought he had coming out of college. He was able to shut off that wide. You get that wide reach. He's able to shut that lane off without getting compressed into the running lane. Did some good stuff. So, but again, I mean, it's a Bills team that came out today with Trubisky. I don't think that they had a ton of stuff in. I mean, Trubisky started enough games in this league that he understands what to do and what's going on. So that wasn't a shock either. But, you know, I think if they had to go, if they felt they needed to go to more of a vertical passing game, they could have. But I just think that, you know, the way they ran the ball, and it wasn't like they had a ton of different schemes in. I mean, they ran their basic stuff, but they bullied that Jets front seven and had a lot of success. And like you said, backs ran really well also.
Yeah, at the risk of poking you in necessarily or unnecessarily a place that you don't want to be poked, I felt like Mitch Trubisky, from an eye standpoint, I felt like this offense had a little more flow to it, had a little more ease to it. And I've been a proponent, and I said it. Robin Mundy, who does a podcast with T. Estelle, who, you know, Wild Bills fan, she's on Twitter. She's part of Bills Mafia Elite, goes all the way back to the Bills message board with me and several others. She put out a post this week just talking about potential Josh Allen regression on Twitter, to which I responded. I was like, I don't think it's regression, excuse me, as much as I feel like I'll summarize it as this. My last statement was basically, you're trying to pound a square peg into a 2x4 with no holes in it. Josh Allen. Should Josh Allen be able to run concepts from this offense? Yes. Is this the offense for Josh Allen? I don't think so. And I think when you see Mitch Trubisky, who is a talented quarterback, does not have the athletic capabilities and skill that Josh Allen has. He's a different quarterback completely. It just felt like, from the eye test, it was like, oh, this fits this guy. Like what Joe Brady's trying to do with this guy, with this offense, it kind of works. It flows. It's smooth. Whereas with Josh, and I've been a critic, it just feels a little hard at times. And I don't know if you want to expound upon that or just move on, but that's just eye test what I felt.
I think the biggest thing with Trubisky is that I think he does run well. He is athletic.
Agreed.
I don't know if he makes the plays throwing the ball on the run or in movement situations like Josh does.
Right.
That's the difference. Mitch is not a very what I want to say, consistent 20-plus yard thrower. He never has been. I mean, he's kind of got that Sam Darnold in him where he'll be 10 for 10 and then throw 2 picks, and then be 10 for 10 and throw 2 picks. And he's kind of got that in him. But as far as the timing stuff, he's a much better timing placement thrower than Josh is, in my estimation. He's a better timing guy. He was able to feather the ball in a lot of spots. You never saw him just rip it on a 5-yard catch, you know. So he's got that ability. And some of the things that timing wise that he does is better than Josh. But overall, Josh is a better quarterback, just the way it is. But yeah, I mean, what a great luxury to have a guy like Trubisky that you can bring in and have to play and know that you've got a chance to win, right? I think that was the biggest thing. Seeing that today is with the offense we run. If that's what we did, I don't think that, especially with a really true blue prep week. I mean, I think their prep week this week was probably, it was thorough, but like I said, I think the game plan was light.
Yeah,
a really heavy, game plan. I feel pretty good about if we had to bring Trubisky in. Is he Josh Allen? No, he's not, and that's a problem. But it's much better than rolling in some rookie off the bench or somebody that you don't know much about.
Shane Buechele. Yeah, I would agree with you, and I would admit to being wrong. I don't know if wrong's the right word. My criticism or my concern has been, what is this team without Josh Allen? And there's an aspect to your point that maybe they're not that bad. Maybe Trubisky can lead this offense, right?
Yeah, I think one of the texters or message board guys has it right. Says Josh has an otherworldly arm, Mitch doesn't. I agree with that 100%.
Yes.
And that's what you saw today. When you don't have a huge arm, what do you got to do? You got to be a timing passer that can feather the ball and do different things and anticipatory throws.
Stay in the system
because you don't have that big arm.
Right.
I agree with that comment 100%. And I think that's the difference. And Josh has shown us he can get the ball in different spots, but he is not a comfortable anticipatory thrower. Never has been, never will be. That's not his game.
Before we transition over to the defense really, really quick, I just want to throw this up here for you. The red helmets, Connor Santonacito 6015 says the red helmets looked beautiful. Bring them back in 2026. You and our counterpart that's missing, John Fina, lived exclusively in the red helmets in a time and a season or a tenure or a whatever you want to call it as far as history of the NFL when there were not alternative uniforms. We now live in an age of like, oh, we've got 17 different uniforms, combinations and colors and blah, 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 blah. How did you feel seeing those red helmets? Because for me, it was a tickle.
Well, if you don't like the red helmets, I can't help you. I can't. I mean, and there's people out there that don't like them. They don't. Exactly. I mean, the fact they brought back the Red Sox with the red helmets and you had all that red popping. I mean, and the difference is our red helmets, I guess the technology is better nowadays, the molded plastic, because a red helmet like the whites, you don't have to paint them. They're molded. They're injected molded. The whatever technology they have nowadays, those things popped. I mean, that color was just bright. And but yeah, I mean, they were gorgeous. I don't know what else to say. I mean, it was the most to me, after the white on white on white on white, it's probably the best uniform combination they have. But I'm sure we won't see him again, and that'll be the end of it. But those uniforms popped with those red helmets.
Definitely the Stormtrooper uniforms, to your point. Standing Buffalo 65 AFL championship jerseys, all white on white on white, and then those red helmets with the blue with the blue tops and the white pants with the Red Sox. Yeah, that's it right there. Those are the two. Those are the only two options this team should have, period, end of story. That was just one more thing that added to the apex, the culmination, the crescendo of the day, knowing this was the last game in that stadium. And that's when they chose to put on those hats, right, with those players that were there. And I know some of those players, Jeff Nixon, some other ones didn't wear red helmets, but there was a lot of guys there that did. You did. Fina was there. Kelly was there. Reed, Tasker. Like, there was a lot of guys there that did wear those red helmets, which was great. But defensively in this game, I was impressed with Joe Andreessen. Where I sat, I spent a lot of time watching Joe, as far as just watching him dissect from a linebacker standpoint, because you're always going to have that underdog. This is Buffalo. This is who we are, right? I'm a son of Buffalo. You understand these people, this fan base. So as he's on the field and getting that starting linebacker role, I'm paying attention. Like, is he dissecting? Is he accurately following the play? I thought he played well.
He played well, but he's limited.
Yes.
Joe Andreessen is a between the tackles linebacker. That's what he is. And he diagnoses runs really well, can get downhill and make plays. If you ask him to play deep middle cover 2, that's harder on him. Those are not what he does well. While that combination of linebackers today was 1 and 2 in tackles. Dorian led the way with 8. Andreessen was second with 7. Though they're very where Dorian does it with sees where the ball is and athletically gets there. Andreessen diagnoses blocks and gets there, but they are more run stopping linebackers. So I like Joe Andreessen a lot. I mean, I think that if the perfect combination is you had an off ball linebacker that maybe was good in the passing game and you had that guy that could, play inside, stop the run, all that. But I don't know if the inception of this defense, of this 4-2-5, like it's run by McDermott, with so much pressure and responsibility placed upon the linebackers in the passing game, that Joe could survive on a week-to-week basis. But as far as you put him in a situation like today, which was go stop the run, that's his jam, man. That's his cup of tea, and he's gonna excel at it every time. And I was happy to see him have a good game. I mean, he's a great player to have on this football team, tremendous teams player, really contributes in that area. And then, you have a guy again that can come off the bench and produce. That's big. And that's what I thought was really cool about today was there's a lot of guys that have been on the bench for most of the season that played huge minutes and looked the part, And again, granted, let's not get crazy here. The Jets are not a good football team, but still, even playing bad football teams, you're going to get exposed on some stuff. This is the NFL. Everybody's good, and I don't think Andreessen did today.
It'll be interesting to see what the Buffalo Bills do with that position in the offseason, just because they went from a strict nickel 4-2 defensive scheme to this year mixing in way more 4-3 traditional 4-3 looks. And I said, we had a conversation, it was either last year or the year before, but we had a conversation about, like, if this is the defense the Bills want to run, because of the type of linebacker that they want, they're going to need 17 of them because they always get injured. And they seem to have a pretty good backlog of guys to fill in. Dorian Williams, Shaq Thompson, right? Terrell Bernard, Joe Andreessen. Like there's guys that they've got to fill in. But how sustainable is it? The NFL changes, things always change and morph, and it'll just be interesting to see where the Bills go, what the draft looks like, what free agency looks like going into next season. And obviously, we're not putting the cap on this season yet. The season's not over for the Buffalo Bills. But I was happy to see how he played. I didn't feel like he was lost, I think is the best way that I would say.
And it's exactly what I said. It's a great way to look at it. He wasn't lost at all. I mean, he was put in a situation and played very well. I mean, that's kind of what I was getting at with most of these backup guys that played today. None of them looked out of place. I mean, they all played well. I mean, if you look at our top tacklers in this game, other than Larry Ogunjobi that was third in tackles with 6, you had Williams, you had Andreessen, you had Kenyatta Jenkins that had 5. You had, Jordan Hancock came in with 5. Mathis had 4. I mean, a lot of guys that are, those fringe players that have been on the bench showing up big time and making a lot of plays. So, again, like I said, other than the collective play of the offensive line and then in specific Van Peren-Granger, I thought all the guys that came in that were more of the bench type role players that were playing huge minutes today for the first time all season really stepped up and there was, played well, and that drop off really wasn't there.
Yeah, and speaking of just drop off and players and employees and just finding good people, if you are if you are a person who is hiring for your company, this is a busy time of year for you because you've got 2026 goals, as all corporations generally do. Sometimes not the company that I work for, which is right here on my chest. Sometimes it seems like they start figuring that stuff out now, and then they tell us in about a month and a half, but that's neither here nor there. Most companies have a plan. And unfortunately, you've also got hiring challenges for 2026, like filling specialized roles or identifying qualified candidates from a huge pool of applicants. With ZipRecruiter, there's an advanced resume database, Jerry, that you can instantly unlock top candidates, their contact info from, and it's no wonder the ZipRecruiter is the number one rated hiring site based on G2. I have no idea what G2 is, just so everybody knows. Let ZipRecruiter find you the best people for all of your roles. 4 to 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Just go to this exclusive website address right now. Try ZipRecruiter for free. ZipRecruiter.com/audio. Again, ZipRecruiter.com/audio. One more time, ZipRecruiter.com/audio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And I think Jerry is going to talk potentially quickly about what we love to talk about here because we are Buffalo people.
That's right. We're going to talk about our good friends at the Anchor Bar, proud sponsor of the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network, home of the original Buffalo Chicken Wing. Of course, the place was opened in 1939, I believe. They invented the chicken wing, Frank and Teresa Bellissimo, in 1964, and the rest is history. Basically, this is the birthplace of the chicken wing. You can get them traditional. They've got up to 25, I think, different flavors and sauces and dry rubs. Jumbo wings, always fresh, never frozen. If you can't get them at the restaurant, the cool part about the Anchor Bar is now if you're in one of 17 different cities in the United States, they have franchised, and you can hit an Anchor Bar in one of those places like Raleigh, North Carolina, or Frisco, Texas, or Tucson, Arizona. If you're there, there's a good chance you might see our good friend John Fina. He'll be the guy in the corner holding court with about 100 people. So if you don't know
waving his AFC Championship ring,
when you walk into the Tucson Anchor Bar, just put your hand up and listen for the guy that's obsessively talking. That's where John is, and you can go see John. But anyway, if you go to the Anchor Bar, either the original or one of the 17 locations that are franchised, if you don't want wings, they have beef on weck, great pizza. They got wraps. They've got salads. If you're, yourself or somebody in your group is looking to try to, eat a little healthier, they have those options as well. And we're really happy to have them on board with us. And the Anchor Bar, proud sponsor of the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network.
Love it. Thank you so much, Jerry, for doing that. Real quick, I'm not going to hit a ton of these numbers. Mitch Trubisky, 22 of 29 on the day, 259 yards, looked great, 4 touchdowns, 142.1 quarterback rating. Ray Davis, 21 carries for 151 yards, 7.2 average. He just looked great today as well. Ty Johnson, 13 carries for 36 yards. James Cook had the 2 carries for 15 yards, which was great. Keon Coleman, 2 for 49, led the day. Dalton Kincaid, it was great to see Dalton play today, although I was just waiting for him to get injured. But I guess we probably usually don't find out about that until Tuesday after the game. Sorry, everybody. That's just that's just where I'm at, Jerry, with Dalton right now. I apologize. Gabe Davis, 5 for 41, had a couple great catches in this game. Latu was 3 for 31. Dawson Knox 2 for 24 with a touchdown as well, and then Ray Davis 2 for 23. And there's a couple others in there as far as stats go. I'm not going to get into team stats. I'd like to bend us more to what's coming up, which is effectively the playoff slotting. So the Buffalo Bills are now officially, with this win, the 6th seed, as the Texans won today in this football game. So they are now the 5 seed. The Bills are the 6th seed. And the Bills are going to be they're going to be traveling to Jacksonville this week. I don't think we have a time yet. Do we have a day? Is it Saturday, Sunday? Have they told us when the Bills will be going to Jacksonville? You're muted. Sorry about that.
No, I'm sorry. That's my bad. We haven't heard yet because they got to wait for this Ravens-Pittsburgh game to finish and then see where that whole thing falls. But I'm hoping it's not Saturday at noon.
Me too.
But you never know.
Yeah. So, but the one thing that we do know is that the Buffalo Bills will be headed to Jacksonville to face Trevor Lawrence. And this is, I don't know how much you have watched. We're going to spend the last couple minutes of this. We're not going to do awards today, I don't think. We could do them if you want, Jerry, but I feel like talking about the Jacksonville Jaguar game for a couple minutes probably makes more sense.
Right.
I don't know how much Jacksonville Jaguar football you have watched this year. But when you look at this football team, you've got Brian Thomas Jr., who was the guy the Bills wanted last year, ended up with Keon Coleman. Brian Thomas Jr. did not have the best beginning of his career last season. Last 6 games of the season, 7 games of the season, Trevor Lawrence gets hurt, and he blows up. Looks like the next coming of Jerry Rice. I know I'm exaggerating there, but you know what I'm saying. He was just everywhere, catching footballs from a backup guy in Jacksonville. This year, kind of regressed a lot. The Bills last year played the Jacksonville Jaguars and blow them out of the stadium, and Jacksonville did not have a great season last year. This year, it was a little bit rocky at first. And then all of a sudden, there's this news report last week or 2 weeks ago about how they changed Trevor Lawrence's footing from right foot forward at the snap to left foot forward at the snap. And it changed everything as it pertained to his rhythm, to his timing, to getting his body in the right position for the throws and everything else. And all I can think of is golf, Jerry. And it's like, as much as this sounds ridiculous, it really sounds right.
Well, there's some stuff to that, but if a guy's if his career totally changed because of what foot was up, we've got issues. I think the biggest thing that you got to look at with Trevor Lawrence is his familiarity and his comfort with Liam Cohen, his head coach. It's also his OC. You know, I look at Trevor Lawrence a lot like I looked at Baker Mayfield. I mean, this is a guy that had a bunch of head coaches, a bunch of OCs, a bunch of different messages in a short, compressed amount of time.
Yes.
And now he's got Liam Cohen, who he trusts, who he likes. That's a very prominent sign of trust, you know, changing which foot is up. I look at things like that. Have you seen the movie Bull Durham?
I have.
Okay, when my man Nuke is thrown out of his mind and he says that old girl hasn't breathing out of his eyelids before he passes. I mean, it's the same thing, right? It's the same thing. But what I look at with the Jaguars, not so much of just, you know, Trevor Lawrence and the fact that he, you know, surpassed 4,000 yards this season for the third time in his career, had kind of a stretch there. He was being considered for the MVP. I look at this defense, you know, and the addition of guys like Travis Hunter on that defense, although he's been out. But I mean, a tremendous defense with Josh Hines-Allen at one end, Trayvon Walker at the other. They get after the quarterback. They also stop the run with Hamilton and Armstead. A team that was like last in the league in turnover differential in 24 now is way up there in 2025, and they emphasize it. I mean, just a better football team than they've had in the past, you know. A lot of young talent that's playing well, and then guys that have talent that needed that spark, and Cohen's given them the spark. And I don't think people really put enough emphasis upon confidence. And everybody in that league, for the most part, has a tremendous amount of talent. Sometimes they don't have the confidence at that moment to let that talent shine through. And right now, this Jacksonville team believes. And, you know, that's a big thing with Buffalo. I don't think this is a team that can go down there and just spot them their normal 14 or 21 in the first half and be like, hey, we're going to come back. This is a little different. So they've got to play well from the start, and it'll be a tough test for them. But a test, I don't believe. I mean, obviously, unless something wonky happens, they won't have another home game. But I don't think there's anybody in this AFC that the Bills can't beat, and the Bills can't beat on the road, honestly.
I feel like you're exactly right. I feel like you and I think landed in the same place with this. It was either on a show or via text. You, John, and I were texting back and forth, I think is where it kind of came out. I feel like from a road standpoint, this is still a potential season of destiny for this football team. I feel like when you look at the Buffalo Bills and the depth that they have at the second level, third level of this football team, they've got some, we have criticized, rightfully so, I feel like at times, some of the depth pieces that are there. But clearly there are guys that can step in and play, and the Bills can overcome things. We've seen them do it time and time again this year. To your point, you don't want to go into the playoffs and spot a team 14 points. That's not what you want to do.
Right.
When you look at the opponents, the potential opponents, I don't want to play the Texans. I was in Houston for that football game, and the Bills it was not great. And I'm not saying that it would be a repeat as far as that goes. They didn't even have CJ Stroud in that football game. It just wasn't great. The second team that I wouldn't want to play is the Jaguars, because I feel like they're an enigma. I just don't know who they are based off of what we saw last year. The little bit that I have seen them, obviously the reports that I've seen, the follow-ups on Mondays and the game reviews and the summaries and yada yada, they just make me a little bit nervous, I think, is where I'm at.
Well, I think when you look at this team, I think defensively, obviously, again, a team with a strong front seven, like we talked about. The linebackers, they've got elite pass rushers up front. They're deep, they're versatile. They've got a very good secondary. So I think that what the Bills do and what our game plan is, and while we constantly kind of grinch about how we run offense, our offense probably fits what we need to do to beat a Jacksonville type team with those shorter controlled passes.
Right.
I don't think we're going to have a ton of downfield open stuff. Maybe we will in play action pass with, I thought it was interesting, how important is Brandon Cooks to this team? He sat today. Think about that. He was on the street. He was on the street a month ago, and now he's on a team where they are sitting him because he's that important, right? Yeah. Vet rest, load management, or whatever you want to call it. So obviously he's very important. But I think what we do, we got to run the football, and we can run the ball against any front. I don't think there's. I mean, we ran the ball against Houston. We can run the ball against any front. So I'm not worried about that. With the secondary as skilled as they are, I think our underneath stuff. And I was surprised to see Kincaid a lot today. Obviously, they wanted to get him out there, get some rust knocked off of him probably. But, he got his plays and got out. He's going to be a vital part of this. But I think we match up well there. I think the biggest thing is when you look at this offense, it's going to come down to another deal where Lawrence has some mobility. Mm-hmm. How can we get pressure, but make sure we keep him in the pocket? Because the longer he's in the pocket, I think he makes more mistakes. And then McDermott and Bobby Babich coming up with that defensive secondary plan that forces him to throw the ball to areas that's more predictable and confuses them because they can run the football. I mean, we've shown the ability since Thanksgiving. I think we're the number one overall, we're third overall and number one in the league in pass defense. We've got to keep that trend up as far as controlling the running game because, Etienne is a very good back.
Yes.
And they can run the football. So those are some of the keys to this thing, looking at it. But I think we match up well. I don't think there's any – this is a team that, we've played a couple of teams like this already this season, and we've done okay. So it will be good. But, again, I keep going back to this can't be we're the second half Bills. We're going to spot them 17 and come out. It's a little different.
I feel like, to your point, spot them 17 if you score 17, right? As far as that goes. I mean, if you're going 17-17 sounds better than 17-0 and you're losing. I'm going to give you the opportunity to be incorrect because that's what the Buffalo Bills seem to do to us as content creators and everybody else that kind of tries to predict or project what this football team is potentially going to do. But we've seen the Buffalo Bills run a lot of 5-man protection and get hurt. Falcons game. Texans game. There's been several last week against the Eagles as far as that goes. Well, we've also seen them overcommit the Browns and Myles Garrett to protection and shutting down that. No, we're not going to let you do this. If you had to be a guessing guy, we face the Jaguars. If we potentially have to face the Texans, or if there's a world where we have to face them, do you see them? And I know I'm giving you the opportunity to be wrong, Jerry, so I apologize ahead of time.
Right.
Do you see them adjusting, or is it no, this is who we are. We're going to go 5-man protection?
Well, I think it's how do you look at 5-man protection? How's it being done? I think some of our issues in the Houston game was getting beat right away. It wouldn't matter if you're in 5-man protection, 7-man protection. It wouldn't matter. No man protection. You get beat right away. There's not much there to help. So in those situations, if you feel your tackles are outmatched outside, then you'd add some of the stuff with the tight end chips and things like that. Easy way to try to help some of this 5-man protection is just leave the back in. Just let him check his way out, meaning he sits in the backfield at first. If he has to pick somebody up, he does. If they don't come, he goes to the flat. And, defenses will jack around with that too. The minute that the back goes out, they'll bring somebody. So there's different things. I think the biggest thing for the Bills against teams like this is they've got to win first and second down. They've got to win first and second down because it puts them in a position on third down to where they're not having to try to rip the ball 15, 20 yards downfield. That way they can do some of their play action stuff to where I think right now the way we block play action might be our best blitz pickup protection on offense right now. So I think that's the biggest thing when you play this game this weekend, whatever day and time it is not allow Jacksonville to get you in 3rd and 10 or longer situations. Make sure you're in front of the sticks, win first and second down, be 3rd and 6 or less, and then that gives you that playbook that you can open up. But when you start holding and you start having 3rd and longs, that's where you got to start adjusting maybe some of that. Well, we're going to be a 5-man pro team with our back lined up outside the tackle almost, and basically put him in a position where he's not involved, then you got to start changing some of that up and different things like that.
I'm looking up the FanDuel odds, the spread currently, if there is one, for Bills Jacksonville's January 11th betting odds. It says 2 days ago. That can't be current as far as that goes. Do you see what is there a spread for this game yet? Oh wait, I may have just found it. The Bills. No, the Bills at Jacksonville Jaguars. They're giving the Jags 1.5 points. Is that accurate? Is that what you're seeing? Did I lose you? Muted.
I'm muted again. I could totally see that. That wouldn't shock me. I think it'll be a flat game by the time it's kick. I think it'll either be like a 0.5 point, 1.5, 1 either way.
But this is a situation. A home game, the home team gets 3 points, right? That's what we know. So this is like the Bills giving the Jaguars 3.5 points or 4.5 points. That just seems like a lot to me. No.
I mean, I'm going to tell you something right now. The narrative of the week, okay? Again, this falls right in Buffalo's line of stories across the country and how this team has looked. If this was the first place team in the AFC East,
yes,
the media would be talking about how they're overrated and they've got a chance to lose in the first round and they're not any good. With them rolling in as a wild card in the 6th seed, you watch the narrative be this week. This will be the line. Nobody wants to play the Buffalo Bills. That'll be the story of this week. You mark my words, write it down. When you see it, remember the Big O told you on the Overreaction Postgame show. If we won the AFC, say we were, I don't know, say we were 15-2, and we won the East, or we were 14-3, and we're playing a home playoff game this week. They'd all be talking about how the Bills are ripe for a upset.
Right.
You watch this week; it'll be. I'm kind of cheated. I've already heard Tony Romo say it at the end of the Broncos broadcast. He said it in a very distinct, pronounced every syllable slow way. Nobody wants to play Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs. Period.
Well, they're a team that you have watched overcome insurmountable odds this season. They've learned how to win despite shooting themselves in the foot over and over again in single games, and they've still come out on the opposite side or the correct side of those football games. They've also got a level of maturity that nobody with the Chiefs gone. Are the Ravens going to make it? I don't even know at this point. But
Gronk doesn't. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
With the Ravens, or the Chiefs definitely out. There isn't a more mature playoff ready team. Now that doesn't necessarily mean anything, right? I mean, there could be a Cinderella story in here somewhere. Right. But yes, the Bills are that team that the Patriots, they know how to win. The Chiefs,
Gronk doesn't count. Gronk's a mascot. Gronk knows what buttons to push, and Gronk does that all the time. So I'm not worried about what Gronk has to say. But no, seriously, I think we all know this team has warts and has flaws. Okay, we're very well versed in what they are, and I think that's probably the one thing going into these playoffs that I'm pretty solid about is I know what our football team is. I know what we're good at, what we're not good at, what we can and we can't do. And honestly. Yeah, would I like to have a team with different things, better weapons here and there, more depth here and there? Sure. But I'm pretty confident and pretty comfortable with what they are. Now, this is going to be a hard thing to do. Incredibly hard. You win 4 games on the road in the playoffs, man. That's has that been done before?
I don't know off the top.
I mean, it's a tough thing to do. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
But this team's built for it. And as long as 17 doesn't aggravate that foot and he keeps getting better and better, I mean, I agree with Romo. Who wants to play him?
Playoff week is the playoffs. I should say the first round of the playoffs week, NFL playoffs week is upon us. The Buffalo Bills are going to be facing the Jacksonville Jaguars next weekend. We don't know yet when that game will be slated. I would think it would be one of the more want to see games as far as that goes, just because Josh Allen is kind of the face of the NFL. Any final thoughts before I get us out of here, Jerry Ostrowski?
No, I mean, other than the Maxwell Hairston injury, and then of course our kicker gets hurt again. That's probably a storyline, probably especially going into Jacksonville when you got a guy like they have that kicks the ball from 67 yards. I mean, their kicker is absolutely phenomenal. Cam Little is just a wagon. So if you're going to get into a field goal battle with somebody, that's probably not the team to get into a field goal battle with.
We don't have a kicker.
All right, we don't have a kicker. That's what I'm saying. We don't have a kicker. Hopefully, whoever they decide to sign, can do a good enough job to get us where we need to be. But other than that, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was cutting you off, but I was adding on to what you were saying, but I was cutting you off. It's funny because when they went for the first 2-point conversion, I was like, oh, they want to practice some stuff because they've been horrible at 2-point conversions this year. And then when they went for the second 2-point conversion, I was like, uh-oh. It's because I was in the stands, which all of you guys clearly knew that Prater was hurt. So
right.
Yeah,
our friend Bellis is called ZipRecruiter for a kicker. When you need one fast,
get a qualified candidate today. Thanks to ZipRecruiter.com /audio.
Zip rebooter is what we'll call it. Zip rebooter for a kicker. But no, I think that as far as the game goes, it went as we felt. We knew it would. I thought the Bills did a phenomenal job building this up all week. I thought the festivities and the videos and everything were awesome. Obviously it's the end of an era. A lot of big feelings are in that building, but you know what? I would tend to think, and there's always those guys that yell at clouds, right? But I would tend to think when you're in that building, that new one across the street for game one, and you're going to the bathroom in an individual urinal, and you're not running into 7,000 people in a 2-foot by 2-foot corridor, and you can get a Coke and a beer in a timely fashion, and you don't got to watch a video screen the entire time to realize what's going on. You might understand that, maybe it was needed.
Yes, I agree. There are aspects of, I feel like they could have been smarter from a development standpoint in what the intention and the vision was for the entire area to go along with the stadium. However, I'm not upset about getting a new stadium.
That's a whole nother episode of overreaction, the Overreaction Politics show.
For sure. I'm going to get us out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning into the Overreaction Buffalo Postgame show on the Overreaction Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. This week, playoff week, we got the Salen's Off Tackle with John Fina show tomorrow on Monday, On the Beat on Tuesday, and then 7 days to Sunday, leading into the game with Zig Fracassi and our main man, Jerry Ostrowski. But for me, for John, for Jerry, for all of us here at Overreaction Sports Network, appreciate you guys. Love you. End of an era. Pile of concrete, Jerry, and I'm all up in my feelings. I'm all up in my feelings about a pile of concrete. So I guess it is what it is. But for all of us here at Overreaction, love you guys. Go Bills.
Much love, folks. Go Bills.
Go Bills.